This is a run where I play Payday 3 and do the 8 base game heist that the game released with on Overkill solo in less than 26 minutes. I'm going to provide some commentary to give some information what is happening, and also in advance I'm going to apologize if I fumble over my own words and all of that, but anyway, no rest for the wicked. Right now this is a very random heist because of a lot of different spawns you can get, and also different places guards and civilians can start with in their cycles. But thankfully this is the first heist of the run, so I can just repeat this one over and over and over again until I get a decent one. That's all I really ask for, really. Just to get a decent no rest so I can just continue to run with. So, of course, you need to turn off the power and get the right switch, or find out the right switch to open up this pre-vault area here. And then you have to get a manager, at least on Overkill as of now, with the current version of the OS you have. And one of the manager spawns are in the lobby here. And he can be standing right in front of those two windows that I'm going to break one off. But even in some of the other spots you can still get him, because you know, you can just tie him up and have him follow you. And if civilians are spotting him, it doesn't matter, because once you grab him, they will just lose interest and not bother to call for a guard anymore. So yeah. But if a guard spots the manager as he's following you, then he will fall down and the guard will rescue him and then call in for the alarm. So thankfully the guard did not see him there, so yeah. Taking him in with me and just killing him, just make sure he will not be a problem at any point, so yeah. And one of the guards called in for a search because they see probably the broken window is what he saw. Yeah, don't really care too much, because all I need to do is basically deliver all of the bags to the van. And since I got type packs, I need to deliver all of them. You can get gold if you are lucky, and gold is slightly faster because then you only need to deliver 2 money bags and 4 gold, and for solo that is actually faster, so yeah. The guard went, you know, and saw the bags and went over there, so I just flash him to not have to use my interceptor yet, because I like to save the interceptor until I've thrown all of the bags essentially outside. Cancel the interceptor animation by mantling there. You can cancel the interceptor animation by mantling and also by sliding. Sliding is a little bit better because how you essentially keep your momentum with you when you're doing so. Yeah. Yeah, but that's no rest for the wicked. Overall, not too terrible. It's sub 3 minutes. I'm happy with it, so I'm just continuing the run. As I said, I don't care about getting a really good no rest, because to just get a really good no rest solo overkill, you need to get very lucky. So yeah, and I don't feel like restarting a ton to just be able to be allowed to attempt a run, especially since there's a lot of other RNG factors anyway later down the line, and especially one really big one on Golden Shark that I get really lucky on, which you're going to see later in the run. So yeah, so road rage, we are not going to bother to transport the truck because we are just going to jump up the visible walls here. And if you're wondering how this works, I'm essentially stuck between getting stuck between 2 walls, and this only works if you're playing the game at very high frame rates. Usually 300 plus FPS is when this starts to work. Depends on the different spots, but from what I can tell, what is happening is that when you are stuck between, or you're wedging yourself between two walls, you get pushed back and forth between them slightly, but at higher frame rate, it seems to you get pushed a little bit further away, and also the frequency you get pushed is higher, because that might also be based on the frame rate, which makes it so you end up being essentially stuck or grounded in the middle of the wall, and that allows you to essentially just jump up the walls like that, so yeah. But since it's dependent on frame rate, that means that if you're playing on console, you can never do this trick at all, because consoles don't run at that high frame rates. And even if you're playing on PC, you need a fairly good PC, because, as I said, you usually need like 300 plus FPS for this to actually work. That is also a reason why I included my a frame rate counter from the Steam overlay too, so you can actually see like how many frames I have at different points in the game. If you want to use that as a reference point, if you want to try to attempt any of these tricks yourself. So yeah. And that is essentially one of the 2 tricks you use for the speedrun. Another one is a trick that, if you don't know how it works, looks similar, but is also dependent on frame rate, but is essentially the opposite. Which I'm going to do when Golden Shark happens, and I'm going to explain it then. Yeah, but overall, not too bad of a roll rage. Roll rage overall tends to be fairly consistent. Of course, how fast you get out of bounds is what determines how fast the run is, but this roll rage is not that bad. My PB roll rage was actually very good, so yeah. So only losing 7 seconds compared to PB on this one is not that bad. So overall, still a pretty good roll rage, but it's very consistently good, so yeah. So, Dirty Ice here. Unfortunately, I get the worst spawn, which is, the one I get. And the reason why it's the worst one is because this is the one that is the furthest away from where I enter the store. Since I get the employee entrance favor, this door right here is just open. So yeah. Also flash that guard to delay his cycle. And I flashed that civilian, so I know he's over there. That's actually a pretty good spot for him to be at, so yeah. Check the whiteboard if that is the code. It's not, so I have to go into the VIP area or check the employee of the month frame, but I checked the one in the VIP area first, since you need to go in here anyway at some point. So yeah, kill the civ and loop that camera just to make sure nothing goes wrong. Again, I don't mind too much losing a little bit of time on some heists here and there, if I can just play it slightly safer. Especially considering I haven't done that many full runs yet that I've essentially completed up to this point, so. And since that guard outside heard my footsteps as I was running out of the basement area, that means that he's going to investigate that. Also, he hears that you slammed the door too. And that is also going to just further delay him in the cycle, which means that he's not really going to really enter the store for that long, so yeah. So yeah, grab the rare stone and then just kill the civilian that pushed the button for me. As I said, just in case he ends up running away for whatever reason. So yeah. And then pick up the jewelry in the VIP area, because on Overkill, if you get all of the jewelry in the VIP area unscanned and the rare stone, that is enough to get the escape available. And since this is a speedrun, all I care about is just getting the heist completion as fast as possible. Unfortunately there, the Lee guard entered the door as I was about to essentially exit, body blocking me, so I had to kill him. Isn't that big of a deal though, since I have plenty of pagers, and since in Payday 3 you don't, or the alarm doesn't trigger when you don't answer a pager, it just uses up 2 pagers and a guard will come and investigate where the guard essentially is dead. Yeah, but since I only need to deliver the bags, and even if the alarm goes off, the van does stay for a little bit, so yeah. So at that point, the heist is essentially done. And also for the fact that I can still use flashbangs to stun guards anyway, because currently flashbangs in stealth are insanely overpowered, and yeah, they are essentially just free stuns, so yeah. Rock the cradle. Here I'm going to jump out of bounds, and here I don't use any fancy tricks, because you can just jump out of bounds here, because this roof does not have collision. It never had collision, and the update where they added the ability to mantle and vault midair, that was the first thing I checked, if you could actually just jump out of bounds there, because I already knew about that spot beforehand. And, I was correct about that. So yeah, check the whiteboard, of course, to know which switch I have to flip. You could also get the actual crypto guy as well, but it really depends on which spawn he gets, if it is actually worth doing it or not, so yeah. So I'm not really like risking that, I just much rather do the much more consistent flipping the right switch, so yeah. Bag up that money to just see which point I need to deliver the bags on, and I get the worst one, the one that is further away, making it so I have to waste time, especially running to that side, to just deliver the crypto wallet. So that's unlucky. So far on this run, in terms of RNG, has not really been in my favor that much overall, so yeah. But at this point, it's like you don't really get like the biggest time save or possible time saves until Golden Shark anyway, and you're going to see that when we get there. You're going to see that really like immediately too, so yeah. But overall, that rock the cradle was completely fine, decent pace, yeah. You know, nothing too special though, so yeah, under the Surphaze, I will trigger the alarm on because it's just better to deliver the bags at the helicopter instead. Also, you get the escape on the roof as well, which is close to you. And since the only thing you really need to do in terms of main objectives is to lower the security bars, and they are essentially right now timers because they, you know, replace the circles with the routers instead. So the first thing I do here is just run in and hack the panel to start the hack here. So yeah, since this, as I said, is a timer. And then I'm just looking for QR codes and also the manager office to know which paintings are the main objective bags paintings. Yeah. Also, before I go into the manager office, I like to have at least 2 routers hacked, so I have 1.5 hack speed. Since I'm going to spend a little bit of time here with getting both the QR code and also, you know, opening the safe for the USB stick for one of the main paintings you need. So yeah. And then now I just pick up QR codes because I want to pick up 4 of them. I don't really bother to go up through the roof and get into one of the exhibition rooms that way, so yeah. And I really don't care if I trigger the alarm at all here because, as I said, you're going to escape loud anyway, but it is nice to just keep stealth for a little bit so you don't get harassed by, you know, the enemies when the assault wave starts here. So yeah, so the 2 paintings that you need to check which is correct with UV lights are in room 6 and 3. So yeah, so I got 2 paintings upstairs and 2 paintings downstairs, which I'm pretty sure is optimal in terms of at least solo. I'm pretty sure it's optimal because then you don't need to, you know, do 3 paintings upstairs and 1 painting downstairs, which is a little bit like awkward in that regard. But I don't think it really matters too much in terms of time save. But Surphaze, when you don't know the RNG seed, is already kind of just a little bit of a scramble in regard in terms of you just checking the different spots and whatnot. Since you know, you don't know where the spawns are, so you have to, you know, figure out where the actual main loot is, and then you also need to just do the routers as you just go past them, essentially. Yeah, and I also don't really bother too much about like getting really good routing when it comes to random seeds here, mainly because you can save a good amount of time, but I don't really feel like I'm going to be running this for that long anyway. And this was just, I was just doing these type of runs just for fun, and also just to see like potentially like how fast you can go with them, and also for the fact that I know there are some very big RNG factors to this as well when it comes to the bigger time saves. That makes it so if this category is like ran for a decent amount of time, eventually it's just going to come down to complete luck if you get a good run or not. So yeah, but that's under the Surphaze. Thankfully on this run, the previous run I completed, one of the team AI bots took one of the bags that I dropped off to be ready to just deliver in the chopper later, and they just ran away with it, losing me like 15 seconds or something, which is super annoying. So yeah. So Golden Shark, first thing, I'm going to limit my frame rate, because I'm going to do another trick here that is dependent on your frame rate, but this one is easier the lower your frame rate is, and this is what I like to call a corner jump. In Payday 3, for some reason, if you are going up against certain corners, you can be grounded for 1 frame, and on that 1 frame you can jump again, so yeah. And that spot that I jumped up there to the 2nd floor on Golden Shark, yeah, that's one of them. Threw a flashbang there because I saw the guard over there, so I just know where he is on the cycle. And this is one of the big reasons why this run was actually good. I guessed the code on the first try. And it's already optimal to go for 1 code guess, because you need to go over here to be able to get the objective to hack the computer in the server room, to be able to get the code. And since you're waiting for the dialogue anyway before you can start that hack, it is optimal to actually do 1 code guess, because you can do 1 code guess and manage to get to that computer before you're actually allowed to like interact with it. So yeah. Select the keycard of the manager, because that manager spawn is very consistent. And I also got lucky that the manager had the keycard on him. Otherwise you have to check potential 3 other spots the keycard can spawn in if the manager does not have it. So yeah. There one of the guards called in search because he saw the broken window, which makes it a little bit more annoying when it comes to the guards, because they are not as predictable anymore, because they're not following their normal patterns. So right here I'm playing it a lot safer than I would otherwise, so you know, losing a little bit of time because of that. But again, since I got lucky with the code guess, it is worth to just take it slow and make sure I just finish the run. So yeah. Especially for the fact that I myself did not have a run previously that was like insane pace like this one, so yeah. So, open the vault here, and you need to get the server and then 5 big money piles and 3 small ones. I get 4 small ones, mainly because, you know, that's when you have even numbers of bags. And I also just do it as a habit to make sure I actually have enough bags for the escape as well. Yeah, you lose a little bit of time with that, but again, unless, you know, this category is like insanely optimized, I myself would not really bother to do that. Yeah, but then again, I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that has really bothered to do essentially a run like this on Overkill. So, yeah. So this section is, you know, not too interesting, just bagging up money, moving bags. So yeah, nothing too special happens here. So I guess I can talk about like why I bothered to actually do this run. Well, first of all, I didn't really have anything to really do at this point. You know, usually I've been outside biking a lot, but the weather where I live as of lately has been really shit, so yeah, I don't really want to go out biking when it's raining every single day. So yeah. And I'm also waiting for, you know, game releases, mainly the next Metal Gear Solid collection, so I can actually finally try out Metal Gear Solid 4. Also, that hatch is on hold interact, you don't need to hold, you can just tap it and it just opens, yeah. Yeah, but since I was like waiting for essentially things to happen, I didn't have anything else to really do. I was like, nah, fuck it, let's, you know, route this and just do some runs of it and just see, you know, if I can get like a good run or not. So yeah. So since I saved the interceptor, I'm just popping it here because right now this heist is actually done. I just need to deliver the bags. I am a little bit sloppy with delivering the bags. There I missed the double tap on the bag throw, so that sucks. And here I also like slightly missed that one bag, which, you know, wasted like 3 seconds or something like that. But as of right now, it doesn't really matter, because if you guess the code first try, you have so much time save anyway, so yeah. So 99 boxes. This is of course the recently reworked version of it. Use the no night shift favor, so there are no civilians on the map. And I want to get one of the warehouse starting point spawns, which I get the best one because this is the one right next to where I jump out of bounds. Mess up the jumps here because I also wanted to quickly mark towards a fence there to check if there were cameras there, because if there are cameras there, that means that you need to go into the east yard. If there are no cameras there, that means you need to go into the west yard. When I got to Mantle, when I was jumping up that invisible wall there, I accidentally held down shift, which means that you just fling yourself over. That it makes it so you end up taking some fall damage, so I just dropped down my doctor bag and heal up. That's also the reason why I have the doctor bag equipped instead of a ammo bag. Because if you get the east yard, you need to have full health, because when you fall back into the east yard from out of bounds, you will barely survive the fall, so yeah. And you need to have full health for that one. For the west yard, which is one I got, you don't really need it, but I still, you know, heal up just to make sure, because this is, again, a good pace, and the PB99 boxes was not really that good, because I got a little bit of bad RNG that ended up wasting some time, so yeah. And here is the stock jump back into bounds here. The first attempt I sadly did fall down, so yeah. So not exactly fast, but it's still not too terrible, so yeah. You could potentially jump up that invisible wall really fast if you are like lucky, so yeah. But when it comes to the consistency of the stock jumps, it doesn't really seem there's that much, or at least from what I can tell, it doesn't seem that there's that much you can do in terms of getting it very consistently fast, but yeah. Could have gone another route because they added boxes for that route to get on top of towards that container, but the route I take is just from muscle memory, from essentially like what you had to do before to get there as fast as possible. So, yeah. And I also made sure to make it inside a warehouse without being spotted by anything, so I can save my interceptor for here. Here I get lucky and get the nitrogen in the first box, but that's the main reason why I save the interceptor, so I can just check all the boxes without having to worry about the cameras or any of the guards in here. So, yeah. But since I got it on the first one, the small time losses I got, I made up for it compared to the PB, because on the PB I got the nitrogen on the last box, unfortunately, so yeah. So overall, not too terrible of a 99 boxes. Also 99 boxes is very consistent if you get the warehouse starting point and just jump out of bounds. Touch the Sky, start with the winning cleaning platform, because then you get both the loot drop off and the escape there too, even when it's loud. And you can get one of two potential like League Guard stunning spawns. I get the good one, which is up here, because that means you can start the hack to open up the bedroom, and then just go back and start the QR code hack here, which you need to do to get the red keycard. And again, since flashbangs are insanely overpowered right now in stealth because they are silent and they can just stun guards, and you know, if you invest enough points in it, the stun lasts for a long time, and also the radius of the stun is insanely large too. Yeah, that makes this, well, Touch the Sky overall very free in the way I'm doing it, so yeah. Because all you really need to do is to open this QR code door, and after that it doesn't matter if you go loud, if you have the cleaning platform. And you actually prefer going loud because, you know, you need to get Mason up to the eye scanner in his office anyway, so yeah. And it's a lot faster to do that by just, you know, running up to him and just snagging him. So yeah. Here I am paying attention to Mason there to make sure he's following me. As you saw, he did fall down. He just likes to fall down randomly for some reason. So yeah, but thankfully he only fell down once though. So yeah. And then of course he doesn't want to go to the eye scanner. That's also something with this patch as well. I've noticed that civilians don't really want to go and do the eye scanner correctly on the first try a lot of the times. Yeah. But here I get the code, and then just make the beeline for the bedroom. Of course, theoretically, you could guess this code as well, but again, the more code guesses you need to do correctly to actually like get a good run, like the likelihood of you actually getting a finished run is lower, because already guessing one code is already like a very low chance, yeah. And because of rework, there are two saves in here, and the SSD is in one of them, so this is a straight up 50-50. I luckily get the 50-50. So yeah, so I don't lose like an additional 10 seconds just because I opened the wrong save first. So that is nice, and that makes this Touch the Sky actually very good overall. And now we just need to decrypt the SSD, which takes like a minute. I did flashbang the flashbang Mason to make him stay there, because if you have a civilian in an area, naders will not throw gas grenades. So yeah, naders are programmed to not throw gas grenades close to civilians. Sometimes they will do it anyway, but for the most part they will actually follow that rule, so yeah. So it's just nice to have Mason there as an insurance to try to avoid getting gassed, because the naders were very likely going to aggro onto the bots, because I'm just going to stay here as well. So here I made sure I got the kill credit on the cloaker, because if you don't get the kill credit on the cloaker, he might just respawn immediately if the bots kill him. So yeah, there's an example of nader not throwing gas grenade when there's a civilian nearby. So that's a nice reason to just keep Mason there, and then of course just flashing, so nothing will attack you back. Decryption is like done, and then just make a beeline for the escape. So yeah, that was the 8 base game heist done on Overkill solo in less than 26 minutes RTA. So yeah. Overall, in terms of the performance on the different heists, Rock the Cradle, Surphaze, and Touch the Sky was overall fairly good. So yeah, but it was mainly because of the cold guess on Golden Shark. This run was actually amazing, and you can obviously see that on the splits themselves, like how much time that actually saved. Funny enough, on the PB, I guessed the code on the second time. Funny enough, so I did actually have a cold guess on that PB too, so it's not the time save is big, but it's even bigger compared to like not guessing the code at all, so yeah. Yeah, but yeah, that was the 8 base game heist done on Overkill solo in less than 26 minutes, with some commentary to explain some of the tricks, and hopefully I explain them well enough, so yeah. And here are the different skills I use for the different builds, if you're curious about that, but anyways, thank you for watching.